Welcome to Planted, finding your roots in STEM careers. Journey with us as we navigate the winding path into tree and plant-related careers with professionals who have taken root or are still branching out. I'm Megan Wiesbrook.
And I'm Jessica Turner-Scoff. In this season of Planted, we are exploring the fields of opportunities associated with plant-focused STEM careers. That's right, all of the cool industries and places you can work with if you work with plants. Our guest today has the coolest job in such an amazing, interesting industry. It combines so many components of STEM with the power and beauty of plants. We are talking about landscape architecture.
And we have the perfect guest to talk with us today, our very own from the Morton Arboretum, the award-winning head of site planning and design, Susan Jacobson.
Hi, so nice to be here with you today.
On Planted, we'd like to introduce our guests by taking three seemingly dissimilar things and having our guests link them together to show the rich tapestry of their career and life. So today, Susan, can you tell us how you would link volunteerism, classical music, and naming streets?
I know, they seem like three very different things, but yes, I've been a volunteer my whole life. I volunteered starting probably in grade school on up through high school, and now as a professional, I volunteer for the American Society of Landscape Architects, as well as several other organizations. I thought I'd have a career in classical music when I was growing up. I was a pianist most of my life, so that was where I thought my career path was headed. And naming streets comes in as one of the most fun things I got to do early in my career when I worked for a land planning firm. Was when I was laying out subdivisions, I would get to name streets.
What was your favorite street name that you came up with?
Oh, I don't know. I would say it would have to be some sort of tree name. I got to use, I think Catalpa was one of my favorite street tree names.
Great tree. Great name.
Well, we're so excited to talk with you today and dig a little bit deeper into your career path and the field of landscape architecture.
Susan, the first thing that Meg and I would love to hear from you today is the many, many ways that landscape architecture connects with STEM. I mean, you have to have skills in science, technology, engineering, and math to be successful. Can you talk a little bit about your experiences with STEM as a landscape architect?
Yes, landscape architecture really combines a lot of different things. So it's a little bit of civil engineering, it's a little bit of design, it's a little bit of horticulture, and it's a little bit of environmental science. And we kind of put all of those together and then add in artistic skills and graphic skills with a computer to really complete the packages we're working on different projects.
So I would imagine that civil engineering is related to, you kind of mentioned already that it's related to the field of landscape architecture, but can you talk a little bit about or differentiate for our audience what the difference between landscape architecture and architecture would be?
Sure. Landscape architects work on everything outside of the building envelope. Architects work on everything from the skin of the building towards the inside. So actually we have a lot more territory to cover than architects do. They get little boxes here and there, and we get all of the in-between spaces. So it's a matter of weaving those together, looking at streetscapes and pathways and bicycle routes and modes of transportation, where you park your car, or where you wait for a bus, or where you go to catch a train, and looking at the entire site and where the stormwater flows and how we look at the sun and the shade of the site. So looking at all the different factors that affect the land outside of the building.
I love talking to people who are in landscape architecture because there's just so much that you have to be aware of, what you have to think about, and what you have to have skills in. I would love to hear more about the technical training that you've had to have, and I know that there's, you have to have some continuing education, I'm sure. So if you could elaborate on that, that would be fantastic.
Sure. I have a Bachelor of Landscape Architecture degree from the University of Illinois down in Champaign-Urbana. And there are approximately 46 undergraduate programs in the United States and 56 master's degree programs. So it's not at every university. You really have to kind of hunt around if you're looking for this major. But we are lucky because we have two different programs in the state of Illinois. We have both the University of Illinois down in Champaign-Urbana, and then we have a master's program at IIT in Chicago. So there are two options for Illinois residents to stay at two different schools here.
And what about the continuing education? What does that look like?
Licensure is part of landscape architecture. So you take a Certified Landscape Architecture Accreditation Board has a unified test that people take throughout the United States to become a licensed landscape architect, and that requires additional continuing education credits. I believe we have 12 a year that we need for the state of Illinois to stay current with our licenses. So it's a matter of you're always wanting to learn more things anyway, so this just makes it a formal process.
Sounds like a lot of work, but also super interesting. Did young Susan always want to be a landscape architect? Or I know you alluded to earlier that you were a pianist growing up. So can you talk a little bit about how you decided to pursue landscape architecture and what you wanted to be as a kid?
Okay. Yes, that I did have a varied background of what I wanted to be when I was a kid. So I bounced all over the place, but music I thought was going to be my passion and what I really wanted to do. But I discovered before I went to college that was much more of a fun pastime than a career path. So when I went to register for college, I decided to register for business. I thought, if I had a degree in business, I could go and do whatever I wanted to after that. But as I was going down to register for classes freshman year, I started reading through the course catalog for the different classes I would have to take as a business major and was immediately put to sleep. I thought, okay, I cannot do this. I don't think I'd make it through the first year, let alone 4 years of classes that sounded just very regimented and very not inspiring, I guess would be a nice way to put it. So I started looking through the course catalog, and I had actually never heard of landscape architecture, but every class description that I read just resonated with me. It sounded like the coolest thing ever, and I said, I think I want to change. So quickly in the car ride to school to register before freshman year, I convinced my dad that this was a good career move to switch from business to landscape architecture. And we spent the day going to different dean's offices and switching colleges and getting enrolled in landscape architecture. So I was able to start right away freshman year.
I think it's just really exciting because it's one of the things I really like about this podcast is that we can expose kids to all these different career paths and opportunities. Just like, you didn't know about landscape architecture really until you looked at the course catalog. So sometimes it's just hearing from an expert or reading something that can really illustrate all of the different potential and exciting career opportunities. Now, kind of elaborating off of that, what would you say is the best part of your job and what are some of the perks associated with the field?
I'd say the best part of my job is the fact that I get to do such a big variety of things. It's really a versatile career. It's something that I've worked in both private practice, public practice, and now a nonprofit with a public garden, that I have a different skill set that I've gotten to use in each one of my different positions. So it's starting out with land planning, laying out subdivisions, and doing a lot of public meetings at villages and cities to help explain what a developer wanted to bring into their community. And then working for a park district was terrific. I also got to do a lot of public meetings then because I was working with homeowners groups and with our board and making presentations. So a lot of this is presentation. So it's besides doing the design end of things, being able to present your ideas to groups that need to vote on them or decide on them or give you input on what it is they want to see in their neighborhood park or their area. It's really a fun part of the position. So it's not all just sitting at a drafting table and drawing things. It's a lot of interaction with people to make sure you're getting a design that's going to meet the criteria of the people that are going to use it.
Susan, it's so interesting to hear all the different types of places you can work, the versatility in what a landscape architect can do. It sounds like even within different workplaces, there's different transferable skills and you kind of acquire them in working in different types of settings. I mean, you had your own business, you've worked for a park district, now you're working for one of the largest arboretum in the country, not to, toot our own horn here, but can you speak a little bit about what it's been like working at different places, what different parts of the industry of landscape design kind of look like?
Yes, it's a real variety of things that we get to do. So working on developing designs for a client and getting to see that design come to fruition, but then moving on to another project and not getting to see how it looks over time is, I found, not something that I enjoy, because while it's fun to do the design and work on the project in the moment, then you move on and you lose track and you go back and look at something and you're so disappointed if, the design vision that you had is not realized in the project or not maintained correctly or not doesn't stay the same, or it's redeveloped into something else, once you're not there anymore. So I think from working with a park district where we had a set amount of land that we were designing and redesigning and working with the community was nice, because you also had a little bit of input on the maintenance and the long-term look of the site. And I think that's what I really love about the Morton Arboretum. It's I'm just here for a little moment in time for something that's been around for 100 years and will probably be here for another 100 years. So looking at all the people that have come before me and respecting their design sense and their vision for this wonderful arboretum, and then being able to contribute to that and helping the arboretum grow into the future has really been an exciting time for me.
And I think this is just a great point to bring up, that you are currently leading the design of our Grand Garden that is coming out with our centennial year. Would you please talk a little bit about that experience and how you are making a lasting impression on the landscape? That's incredible.
Yes. Now, this is a wonderful opportunity. So working on the Grand Garden at the Morton Arboretum is something that's going to be kind of a showcase on a celebration of our 100 years of existence here in DuPage County. So we're taking a 2-acre site that has always been in the Arboretum, so it's not a new site, and we're respecting the long view. Right now it has a very classical look. The old hedge trial garden is what it was originally built as in the 1930s, but it's changed many times over time. And what we have done is preserve the historic framework of this design, but yet modernized it and created a much more people-friendly place, and a place for a lot more interaction with a variety of plants, a variety of colors, a variety of events that can be put into this space. What we had was a 2-acre site that was really underutilized. It was right near the center of our garden, near the visitor center, and very accessible to a lot of people. And what we've created is a garden that will really delight the senses and the visual look and the appeal, and create spaces where people can gather and really enjoy the outdoors and the garden space.
It's just such a neat combination of, you get to make the world beautiful and you also can make it functional, which I think is just that really cool intersection that you can't find outside of landscape architecture, I feel. Now, what would be a piece of advice that you would want to impact on anyone thinking about becoming a landscape architect?
Oh, that would be good. I would say a love of the outdoors, a love of design, a love of plants. There are a lot of things you can love about landscape architecture, because there's so many different things you can do. And some people specialize in only one aspect, but I think being able to have a little bit of an ability to dabble in a lot of different things really makes for an exciting career. I would say in high school, I would look towards classes. I didn't have any drafting classes or design, really any art classes. I was strictly a, college track, take chemistry, physics, and, English and math type high school career. But I think having some art background or some drawing background would be helpful. Now almost everything is in computer, so computer skills are great, and communication skills, both writing and speaking, are very important for getting your ideas across and helping make your vision realized.
That's great advice. I will say we, speaking of courses and education, we did share your profile with some educators, and they have some questions that they took a look at your profile, kind of understood what your role and background was, and they had some questions that we wanted to bring forward as well. One of them is kind of a little bit more of like a process question. So when you're starting a project, how do you analyze your site, or like kind of what is your first steps in understanding some of those key tenets of the landscape that you want to incorporate into your design?
Good question. Now, really, every design project starts with a site analysis. So you look at the site that you're giving, that you're going to be doing a design for, and you kind of take inventory of what's there and what's not there even. But looking at whether there's underground utilities or overhead lines, whether there's a view into the site or an objectionable view outside of your site that you would like to screen, looking at existing trees and then the condition of those trees, looking at maybe using an arborist to evaluate them before you start planting new things underneath it, and then you have to remove something that's, maybe not going to last as long as you would hope. Looking at the slope of the land. So it's, grading and drainage is very important. So you're looking at where the high point is and where the low point is. Where is the water going to go on your site? And if you're putting in impervious pavement, so any type of structure or something that water can't go through is called impervious, you have to accommodate the water that would run off on that site within your design. So it may be a rain garden, it may be a swale, it may be a detention basin. So it all depends on the scale of the project that you're working on. So, and it's a matter of, taking a lot of photographs, sitting in different portions of the site and really understanding what the site is telling you it can be. And then the next step would be to talk to your client or whoever it is you're designing this for to find out what it is their goals are and what they want to see and what they really want to, what they are envisioning for this site.
There's so much that goes into analyzing a site. And it sounds, you got a lot of technical things you have to think about. But then when you're designing a garden, that is inspiration. You're taking that from somewhere. Can you talk about what inspires you from that horticulture side or designing a garden? How do you get inspired?
That answer has that question has a million different answers. So it's, you find inspiration all over the place. Landscape architects, as they travel around, driving a carpool or going on vacation or doing whatever, you find different design details in the world that you're always cataloging, either in your brain or taking photos of. I love Pinterest. It's a matter of, filing everything in a different little file now. It used to be all paper files. I had a ton of file folders of things I'd ripped out of magazines or newspapers or, dog-eared books with little Post-it note tabs on them. It's like, okay, if I'm looking for water gardens, I want to look here, here, and here. Or if I'm looking for a kitchen garden, I want to look here, here, and here. So now it's all electronic and it's so easy to access, to go in and have all these files on my computer to just kind of look at and get inspiration. But also, you find as you're going around, my kids always thought I was nuts. You go on vacation and I'm taking pictures of stairway details or railing details or how the lighting is, or you go to something and it's like, oh, this is so well lit and I don't see a single fixture. That's what you really want in a great lighting accent for a garden, is you want it to be lit so that people enjoy it in the evening, but not overwhelmed by bright lights in their face or seeing structures.
I'm glad to know that I am not the only nerd that when I go on vacation, it's hard to turn off work. I end up looking at interpretive panels or read the program guide. Like, what correct. It's like a never ending. Sometimes it is very hard to turn it off, so to speak. But I'm curious. I'll be honest with you. My mom has a background in horticulture, and she designed our garden at our house. And she always was real intentional about doing things in threes or placement of the different colors that she incorporated. I'm curious as to how you weave color into your design, or kind of what do you think are important things to consider around color when you're implementing them in a space?
Yeah, color is very fun to work with, and a lot of it depends on your client and what their vision is for this. I try not to impose the colors that I love into other people's designs, but I find different things. If you're putting together a presentation and showing slides, it's like, okay, here are my 6 favorite perennial borders, and as you're giving the presentation, you look up, it's like, oh, I like lime green and purple a lot together. It's it's just things that you maybe don't even notice that you do. But it's a matter of looking at balancing color and the amount of light you have. The more light you have in a garden, so a sunnier garden will really support a lot brighter colors in the flowers. And if you have more shade, the flowers tend to be more pastel colors or lighter whites. And so you have to go a little bit with the environment, but you can add a lot of different colors. And you find that your eye also likes to rest. So it's a matter of not having maybe complete color, but having a dark green backdrop or something white that really makes the brighter colors pop out. So it's looking at contrast too, that when you're putting together color in a garden.
You've done everything from name streets to design a grand garden. I would love to know, though, what part of your installations that you've done through the years, which one's your favorite, and can you describe it to us?
Oh, gosh. I would have to say that my favorite garden is always the one I'm working on currently. So I would say the Grand Garden right now is my favorite garden just because it's incorporating 10 fountains, which is something that we don't have anywhere else in the Arboretum. It's incorporating a lot of metal artwork into this garden. So we've taken 4 leaves and then we're repeating them in different formats throughout the garden through stainless steel laser cut panels of leaves to stainless steel leaves that are in the bottoms of the fountains and in the pavement to looking at another fountain, a medallion. We have a bronze medallion with stainless steel oak leaves in it that really highlights it. There are a lot of nice details that bring this whole garden together between the artwork, the plants, the number of new trees that are going in, plus the color garden throughout the little garden rooms, and then our celebration garden. It's all going to be a really unique experience for the Morton Arboretum.
Very cool. I am so excited.
So excited.
And it's just been really amazing to kind of listen to your experience into the field of landscape architecture, as well as all the really interesting and intricate projects that you've gotten to work on. We have one last question for you. It is one that we ask all of our Planted podcast guests. And this might be one that you use often in designs or not. But can you tell us what your favorite plant is?
Yes, it's Cercis canadensis, the eastern redbud. It's one that I have several of in my own yard. I think the horticulture team is wise to my desire for these, so they limit my use of them on the Arboretum grounds, but it's a lovely understory at the edge of the woods type plant, and it's one of I find a harbinger of spring because it has that light pink, delicate flower that blooms before the leaves come out, so it really creates almost a cloud of pink before the rest of the leaves come out.
And the flowers are actually pretty good to eat as well.
Oh, good to know.
No, I think that's, I know that's Megan's favorite tree as well. So you really excellent choice.
Oh, good.
Susan, thank you so much for being here today. It's so interesting hearing about how versatile your position is and what your field is in general. And it really comes together as a perfect STEM career, or I could even say STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and math. And it's just really fantastic having that perspective of how you put together everything from civil engineering to horticulture to design. So thank you so much for being here today. And if you are able, we highly encourage anybody listening to come to the Morton Arboretum and see Susan's work. This episode of Planted, Finding Your Roots in STEM Careers was made possible by the Morton Arboretum and the Multimedia Services at College of DuPage. Check out additional resources and bonus content at www.mortonarb.org/planted podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, like, and share. This is Jessica Turner-Scoff
and Megan Wiesbrook.
And we hope you'll continue to join us as we journey into STEM careers.